Thank you very much for inviting us here. Thank you for participating as free citizens in this very important process of self-government. This is a national conversation. It's an opportunity for the American people to talk about where we are, who we are, what we value, and what we're trying to accomplish. And Matt, I want to thank you as the chairman for the job you're doing to be so enormously helpful here, the job you did last year in helping win a number of very key elections that are changing Iowa. In addition, it's great to be back with Senator Grassley. He and I worked together back in 1984 on a project called Gasohol. For those of you who are younger, that's what happened a long time ago before it became ethanol. We also worked together when I was Speaker to save it in the late 1990s. I have a very simple principle on why I'm for ethanol. I believe if my choice is for money to go to Iran or go to Iowa, I pick Iowa. If my choice is for money to go to Saudi Arabia or South Dakota, I pick South Dakota. It's not very complicated. I'm delighted that you are committed to re-electing Congressman Latham and Congressman King, and I'm here in part to urge you to add 2 more Republican members to the Iowa delegation next year so we have the momentum to govern in 2013, because we need the Congress as well as the presidency in order to bring America back and to rebuild the country that we love. I think you can do it, because I think the election by next October is going to be very clear. I'm really proud of my colleagues who've been here tonight. Each of them brings unique things and unique characteristics. The fact is that Ron Paul has been consistently correct about the need to audit the Federal Reserve, to limit it, and to return to a policy of a dollar as sound as gold. So if you save a dollar, 20 years later, it's still worth a dollar. And it's great to have him as a candidate. The first candidate I know who's explained monetary policy. Rick Perry was my mentor on the 10th Amendment and the importance of implementing it. He has a number of tremendous ideas. I agree with most of his energy policy, which I think is exactly in the right general direction. And I'm delighted that part of the debate we're going to have is about whose flat tax is better. And I think it's a significant idea that you now have a 999 plan and you have 2 candidates with flat taxes. You have real effort to think through on the Republican side what we need to do as a country to be competitive and to be prosperous and to be successful. Michelle Bachmann deserves a lot of credit. Not only did she stand up to the Republican leadership at times when she was virtually alone, but in addition, she was the first person to introduce a bill to repeal the Dodd-Frank bill, which is one of the most destructive bills crippling our economy today. I think she and Steve King were in a race to see who would be the first to introduce a bill to repeal Obamacare. And they have these are powerful ideas. No one has done more to try to arouse America to understand the challenge of radical Islamists, to understand the dangers in Syria and in Iran, than Rick Santorum. And I can't tell you how proud I am of the courage he's shown year after year in wanting to serve his country and to leave his children with a better future. So I look at my colleagues. This is a great group. And there are a couple I wish were here tonight, and I would have said nice things about them. But we'll skip over that. I am here with very fine competitors, but no opponents. We only have one opponent. That's Barack Obama. Callista and I are delighted to be back. I think we may be the only campaign whose national campaign manager, Michael Kroll, is from Iowa. He and Callista first met at Luther College in Decorah, and her ties here are pretty real and pretty deep. But in addition, we're glad to be back because I want to bring a very simple and a very clear message. With your help on January 3rd, you can launch a candidacy which, if you go to newt.org, you'll see is the most substantive candidacy in modern times, laying out a 21st century contract with America. I'm not going to go into it tonight, but it's going to grow and evolve from now till September 27th, when we will release a contract with America on the anniversary of the original contract in 1994. Then on October 1st, we'll release executive orders which we will implement on day one of a Gingrich administration, the first of which will abolish all of the White House czars as of that moment. I have two, and only two, arguments for why I hope you'll end up deciding to support me in the caucus, because my colleagues are good people and they're worthy of your concern. The first is, I am the only candidate in this race who at a national level has balanced the budget 4 consecutive years, led an effort across the system for the first tax cuts in 16 years, led an effort which led unemployment to drop from 5.6 to 4.2%, and created a national majority for the first time in 40 years, and the first re-elected national majority for the first time since 1928. What we are faced with is the results of a radical ideology and an inexperienced, incompetent president. And I would simply suggest that to get the scale of change we need somebody who understands the legislative branch, somebody who understands how to get things done in Washington, and somebody who has a track record of having built a national movement that can, in fact, bring pressure to bear in Washington. And starting with the years that I studied with Ronald Reagan, about whom Callista and I made a movie, I think I have that background in a fairly unique kind of way. But there's one other reason, which comes up again and again when people talk about the debates. As your nominee, I will challenge Barack Obama to 7 Lincoln-Douglas-style debates of 3 hours each, with a timekeeper and no moderator. I will concede that he can use a teleprompter. And I predict to you, and many of you will find this surprising, I predict to you in the end he will accept for 2 reasons. First, a matter of ego. How can a Harvard Law Review editor, the greatest orator in the modern Democratic Party, admit to being afraid to be on the same platform with a West Georgia College professor? The second, because I am a historian and I actually study history, and unlike President Obama, I actually study American history. I know how Lincoln set up Douglas. Lincoln had been out of office. He'd only served 1 term as a House member. He was out of office for 10 years as a practicing attorney. Douglas was the most famous senator in the United States and presumed to be the next president. When Lincoln announced, he said, there are 105 days in the campaign, let's debate every day. And Douglas said, I don't think so. And Lincoln began following him. Wherever Douglas appeared, Lincoln would come the next day. And after about 3 weeks, Douglas figured out that the newspaper coverage was always Lincoln's answer and not Douglas's speech. So I promise you, if you will help me on January 3rd, if I end up as the nominee, in my acceptance speech, if the president has not yet agreed, I will announce that from that date forward for the rest of the campaign, the White House will be my scheduler, and wherever the president appears, I will appear 4 hours later. Thank you, good luck, and God bless you.